Tang gang, Tang gang. Yeah. Welcome to the Atheist Network group. Look, let's do it. Yeah, first up, just Jeff, the Atheist troll. Yeah, he'll bring you what you need to know. Yeah, then there's that Murdershed Steve, and nobody knows what is up his fucking sleeve. And then this Nate. The only thing we know is this motherfucker likes to stay up late. Then yeah, we got Biddy Buddha. Yeah, you don't wanna do it, you just look stupid. Then there's Shane, the skeptic. Nah, man, don't get wrecked, step left, yeah. Then there's Brasseroni, don't bring him that baloney. Nah, and then Skids, the clown, it's guaranteed they go down. And then we got producer Wes. Haha, yeah, he's on there making that shit look the best. Then we got Sunny Shell, what the hell? She does everything, listen to him sing. It's your boy Oz. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. You about to have the time of your life. Feel me? Okay. Tang gang, Tang gang, Tang gang, Tang gang, man. Tang gang, Tang gang, Tang gang, Tang gang, man.
What's up, everybody? And welcome to a little change up, a Monday night OZONE. So obviously Oz is here, and we got our good friend Dr. Josh. What's up, homie?
How you doing?
Chilling. Running around like a chick with my head cut off here the last hour, trying to get everything mixed up. Biddy's bus is in the shop, so she didn't have access to her stuff. And then Nate had family stuff going on for the holidays, and I believe Shane got called into work. So it's you and I. And
that's when you bring in the fifth string. That's what happens. Bring in the fifth string.
We'll see. I always expect you to text
Josh, we got nobody. Can you come on?
I always expect Dr. Josh to take the humble route, but I actually looked at it as if you're I know Josh and I enjoy baseball. We went to get Mariano Rivera. We need a closer. Like everything's falling apart. We need the Hall of Fame closer to come in and shut that shit down.
It's very generous.
So just a few announcements we'll make here, and then we'll let you know what the plans are here for the evening. But we'll start out with kind of what we've been talking about, and I've been very excited to hear the buzz so far on this from everybody in the community. But we do have this thing coming up, Dr. Josh, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be there for that. But it's Tang's first meetup or conference, and it's titled Better. Really give the short version, focus on better conversations to impact the immediate people around us, our communities, and hopefully at some point make a difference globally, and being able to improve those skills. So with us we'll have Seth Andrews, and then we'll have this guy here that wrote a book that we mentioned like once a week or so. Dr. Josh will be with us. Jump in his chair. I'm actually trying to schedule a chair to be there because I don't think we can do this the first one and not have TJ there. And then Anthony Magnabosco, Cynthia, I always say that, Cynthia McDonald, and then also one of my favorite humans I've ever got to spend time with and talk to, Dave Warnock. And then the rest of the Tang gang or crew should be there, I think, so far. That's everybody said they're going to be able to be there. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And Josh, you're going to be speaking there. How do you feel about this event?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Actually, drafted my my outline for my talk this week. So, yeah, I think it's anytime that we can get together and talk about how to do things better, I think it's going to be. It's always really useful, particularly in this context. So, yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and it's the first time since the whole COVID thing that we can, hang out and build friendships and relationships. Because a lot of us, we all talk either in the chats or, those of us talk live on screen, but to have the in-person, time to get to know each other and hang out and cut up and have fun is going to be, I think it's going to be, that in itself will be therapeutic, I think, for a lot of us. So
No doubt.
the reservations go on sale this Saturday, the 10th. So the team is working really, really hard behind the scenes. I had a call today with Biddy and Nate and Skids, and they're kind of helping me with the digital part of the launching of the reservation sales. And yeah, they're working hard. So it's gonna be awesome. So when those tickets hit, I'm telling you, it's limited seating. You'll know approximately how many they are at launch when we start launching the sales of the
Reservations.
Yeah. I'm trying to stay away from the T word. And yeah, so you're going to want to get them. If you want to be there, you're going to want to get them quick. So we have that. Then this is supposed to happen this Saturday, but I think from what I heard, there's an emergency in the family. So I won't spend too much time on it. But as long as everything's good with Isaiah, we'll be having this debate Saturday evening. And then immediately following that is when the reservations will go on sale. And then we have, somebody took my other flyer off here, so I don't have the
what?
But but we do have Seth Andrews. Oh, there it is. We have Seth Andrews joining us on the 18th with Biddy and I. We're going to talk about the Satanic Panic. And Josh, I know you grew up a Christian. Did your parents ever, reading those books, were told them to take the toys out of the toy box and take the movies out and throw them away?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know that I know a lot about the Satanic Panic. I mean, we weren't allowed to, play with the Ouija boards, and I remember, I know I must have memorized that Hell's Bells movie. I don't know if you saw that documentary, where they play the songs by Led Zeppelin backwards, or AC/DC. It's another one, Queen. You could hear Start to Smoke Marijuana played Another One Bites the Dust backwards. So yeah,
the
exciting stuff.
Looking back on it, and yeah, that's that same time frame. On that particular video you're talking about, I don't know how many times my mom made us watch that fucking documentary, but Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Make It, and play. I'm like, now look back and I'm like, come on, man, these are guys. They have pretty hair that they put a lot of hairspray and stuff into, and they slash a guitar.
The line that always sticks with me is they showed a clip of Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, getting in front of the big speaker with the guitar pick and that little guitar, and he hits it and it blows up, and he says, "Whoa, rock and roll!" And the guy on the narrator says, "That's right, Mike, rock and roll."
It's the devil, I'll tell you.
Oh, man.
And then last but not least here, Aunt Kathy will have the first episode of her show here on the Atheist Network group, and there's a lot of people excited about that, and I am as well. And she brings a lot of knowledge, biblically, and just life experience that I think for not just for our channel, but for the community, she's going to be a well, of knowledge. So I'm very excited. And she has Catherine and Godless Godless Granny, and then Dave Warnock joining her, and that will be July 22nd. And this is our first afternoon program, Dr. Josh, at 2 p.m.
Nice.
And from this is what Aunt Kathy said. This is not my words. Us older people can't stay up that late, but yet they're always up hanging out with us. My skepticism's kicking in, Dr. Josh. No, and then we would be remiss if we didn't mention this since Dr. Josh is on with us, and we're going to talk about, this was your first book, right? The one we're going to cover tonight?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And the one that just came out, like I said, we only mention it like once a week. It's the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. Josh here. It's a volume 1, and I don't have Biddy or Sonny here to do the cool volume 2 thing, so I'm not even going to butcher it. But you can go on the Amazon. You can either type in the title of the book or just put Dr. Josh Bowen. It'll come right up, and go buy it now.
Thank you.
Now.
It's still on the bestseller list, which I'm really excited about. It's over a month now. It's been on there, so that's pretty cool. That's
awesome. And just as obviously, well, you and I have talked. I do want to. I've started putting thoughts and notes together, like you would kind of advise that I do. But writing a book and seeing it at the top of a list or lists like that, like, and I know you're going to play the ultra humble card, but like, how does that make you feel as an author, and all the time and energy and effort you put into, as far as academics and sacrifice and all that? How does that feel now, seeing the return on that?
Honestly, it just makes me very grateful for this community. I mean, that's really, because it makes me think, like, the people that buy the book are the ones that keep it at the top of that list. So if people aren't buying it, then it's not going there. So this atheist community is stepping up, frankly. And I am humbled by it, frankly, because I said frankly twice there, and I frankly said that. So no, I'm just really appreciative of this community. So thank you all. Also, it's been pointed out, and I really don't do this on purpose, but apparently there's something that happens at the end of many of my sentences, and I don't even know how to describe it, but people have been commenting on it recently that, like, I sound like I'm going through puberty or something, they say. So I don't know what that is, but I apologize if it sounds like I'm going through puberty. I'm not, but...
Well, obviously. Well, you have it. I wouldn't say it's puberty. I do understand how they would make that comparison, but you do. It's more so not at the end of sentences, when I can tell you're deep in thought, and you're kind of some people do the as their thing. Yours, your voice, not necessarily. It kind of it doesn't crack, kind of breaks off, and I can understand how they would mistake that. But the funny thing is, I was listening. Oh, damn it! Now I'm not going to remember, because we're having this conversation. But I was listening to somebody else speak, and it was a theist, and he did the same thing. I was like, holy shit.
Was it Kent Hovind?
No.
Because that would be badass.
No. I can't remember who it was now. I was like, wow, Dr. Josh, like, he and Dr. Josh are the only people that I've heard, like, when they're deep in thought, there's that, like, it's like, yeah, it's hard to describe, but yeah. Puberty.
There you go. I'll come out of it, I guess, one day.
Eventually, maybe when we're 60 or so. But real quick, before we get into the good shit here, let's say what's up, Dr. Josh, to everybody here in the chat and hanging out and supporting Captain Dadpool. What up? Shannon Q's in the house. What's up, Shannon?
I noticed that somebody was asking about my snatch hat. So it's here. But I'm not surprised that Mrs. Oz got the lift wrong again. But it's because it's a clean pull. But I think I did it again just then. My voice thing. So I was deep in thought there. But how could she get the lift wrong again? I'm kidding. Please don't hurt me.
Tia, she does know her lifting. I'll give her that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing around.
No, you're supposed to stay serious.
Yes, I apologize profusely.
We also got Javier, Kill the Doggy, and I did see your comment on the intro videos and music earlier. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ian Davenport, as always, thank you. And there is Aunt Kathy. Oz, the brain does not have to be acutely aware and functioning for us oldsters when we watch you at night. Oh, man. Yep. Oh, wow. Dr. Bones written a book. Such a surprise. Wow. And then let's see. And we just talked about this, I think it was yesterday. And I'm still going to butcher the name, but Correa. Actually, I think I did say it right. Correa. Victor, what's up? The God equals square root of -1. What up, Kendra? Good to see you guys. And I thought I saw Tobin. I'm not seeing his name in here now. Oh, yeah, there it is. Tobin, what's up? And as always, Mrs. Oz, the beautiful, the one and only. And then, Monkey for Banana. What's up, man? So, all right. Well, and a bunch of other people jumped in, but what's up, everybody? Good to see you here. Thank you, Donna, everybody. Yes. Now what we're going to talk about, what we're all here for tonight, is this book that Dr. Josh and his wife, Megan, wrote. And I'm pretty sure Megan does. I just muted Dr. Josh. You can't hear me. I'm pretty sure Megan does most of the work on these. But we'll pretend. All right. All right, Dr. Josh, I'm back. So this is Learn to Read Ancient Sumerian, Introduction for Complete Beginners. So before we dig into it, Josh, what was when you guys sat down to put this book together? What was the thought? What was the purpose behind it?
It's funny because it came on the heels of putting I put a video series out on Learn to Read Ancient Sumerian for Complete Beginners on the YouTube channel. And I did it because I thought, well, I've spent so much time learning all these different languages. So I'm just going to start with Sumerian because there's lots of, learn to read Biblical Hebrew or learn to read Biblical Greek or Akkadian, whatever. But I don't know of anything for Sumerian. So I know nobody's going to watch it, but I'll just put it out there. And its production value was low. I didn't know what I was doing. It was one of the earliest videos that I put out. And it has been viewed. It's the most viewed, continues to be the most viewed video on our channel, video series. It's been viewed over like 105,000 times or something. And I feel so bad because if I'd known it was going to be this popular, I'd, put some time into it, but it's just me yammering on. But so after Megan saw how popular it was, I thought, well, I'll just write a grammar because unfortunately for Sumerian, again, if you're going to learn Biblical Hebrew, you're going to learn Biblical Greek, even Akkadian or Aramaic, people have taken the time to learn to read these languages books for people that aren't linguists, for people that don't already know how to read the language. If you think about like an English grammar that you use in high school, you already know English, you know how to speak it, you know how to write it. But then there are all these, kind of rules and patterns that they want you to know. So they want you to be able to recognize subjects and objects and indirect objects and, linking verbs and participles and specifically what all that stuff means. And so they have a grammar for that, again, it's meant for somebody that already knows English, somebody that already knows the language. And Sumerian has a bunch of different grammars like that. They're called reference grammars. So you've already gone to school, you've already learned Sumerian, but now you're getting into like more complicated Sumerian texts and you're trying to figure out these particular grammatical structures. And so they've written these advanced grammars for people. But, for the person that just wants to sit down and learn Sumerian, there really wasn't a lot out there. And so I wanted to write it in plain English, easy English, sort of like a Learn Sumerian for Dummies, because that's what I wanted when I learned Sumerian, and there wasn't anything.
Mhm.
And so we wrote this, and Megan made it good. She added all the drawings and really made it a lot more palatable, even than I had made it. And so it's before the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. It was by a factor of probably 10 the best-selling book that we have out of of the 3 that we had. It sold pretty well, which is great. Of course, now the Atheist Handbook sells 10 times more than this one does. So,
Hell yeah.
And that's all down to you guys, frankly. So, yeah, that's why we did it, and it's been good. It's been good. A lot of people out there want to learn to read Sumerian, which was strange to me, but shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I just text Dr. Josh, was it a day ago, 2 days ago, and I was like, "Here, I just ordered the book. I'm gonna take a swing at this thing," and he offered to help. And I said, "Just remember, I am a dropout. I got kicked out of Spanish class 3 years in a row, so you have that going for you, or me, which is not very good, I don't think. But we'll see how this goes."
Yeah, the nice thing about it is if you know how to read English, not any of the grammar, you just know how to read it, this book is for you. Well played. Well played.
All right, so we gave everybody the title of the book. If you don't have that one, also go get that one if you're interested in learning how to speak Sumerian. And I am, and I thought, you know what, the way everything went tonight, I know I'm interested. I know there's a bunch of other people that are interested in it. And if Dr. Josh is willing, let's do the damn thing. Dr. Josh was willing, obviously. So, Dr. Josh, the floor is yours. Take it away, sir.
Awesome. Well, if you want to share that, screen. So I figured that maybe the best way to do this is to just read a little bit of it, let a little bit of the introduction, and then try to go through at least some of the first chapter. And I have a whole series on the channel where I do this live with Biblical Hebrew, so it works out pretty well. So if you have questions, you can throw them in the side chat, and Oz, however you want to handle it, can do them as we go, or we can do them at the end, whatever you think is best. But
I'll jump in real quick there. If you are truly interested and you want to go watch those, so I think I'm halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the 3rd lesson. And one thing I do appreciate, because I was a terrible student. When I say those things, I'm not I'm not bullshitting. I sucked in school. What I do appreciate is Dr. Josh. It's not like it's not dry and robotic and like classroom setting, like boring Zoom meeting type, stale cracker type, class session. He'll even do the little bunny trails and come up like, I have no idea why I was talking about that, and bring it back. Or Megan and the kids will be in the background. So it feels like real life, and that actually helps me. Where the classroom setting, like where it's just so polished and everything, I'm like, somebody put me to sleep, please. So
well, awesome. Well, I will try to keep it lively here. So, here we go. So this is straight out of the grammar, straight out of the book. Again, I won't read the entire introduction, just a couple of paragraphs to kind of introduce everybody to the topic. Like, what is Sumerian? Why should somebody want to read Sumerian? So while some other ancient languages are relatively well known, Greek, Latin, or even Biblical Hebrew, comparatively few people know or even aware of Sumerian, the world's first written language. Yep, even earlier than Egyptian. Ha. Appearing mostly on small tablets made of clay, and I just have one, a model of one here. So this is kind of what it looks like. Oh, I guess that's pretty small on the screen, isn't it? Yeah, let me see if I can get that to focus up. It's not very good. Anyway, but that's what it's sort of like. They're just a little clay tablet. They use a stylus and make wedges. Appearing mostly on small tablets made of clay, written with curious wedge-shaped signs, Sumerian writing was in use and has been preserved from over 5,000 years ago. So unlike something like Biblical Hebrew or Biblical Greek, we have the originals. We actually have the clay tablets that have people's fingerprints in them. So it's neat to be able to work with the originals. So Sumerian was spoken and written in a geographical region known today as Mesopotamia, which corresponds roughly to modern-day Iraq. Sumerian was used primarily in southern Mesopotamia, Sumer, though cuneiform was used throughout all of Mesopotamia, as well as parts of Turkey, Syria, Iran, and the Levant. There were even letters written in cuneiform discovered in Egypt. Those are the Amarna letters. So Megan has this cool little map that she drew. Again, this is straight out of the book, so little teaser, I guess, is what we're doing here. I'll skip over this paragraph. Okay. The earliest Sumerian documents were less glamorous and romantic than we might hope, and mainly recorded administrative transactions. Over the more than 3,000 years in which the language was used, many different types of texts were composed, including administrative, literary, legal, and liturgical texts, not to mention incantations, letters, sign lists, and royal inscriptions. While there are a number of literary compositions that were written in the 3rd millennium, that's 3000 to 2000 BCE, the vast majority were composed in the first part of the 2nd millennium BCE, known as the Old Babylonian period. It is from this period that we have extensive evidence for scribal education in Mesopotamia, where students learned to read and write Sumerian by copying a wide variety of compositions, including a vast array of literary texts. And if you're interested in that particular topic, how did students learn to read and write? What types of texts, what types of things were in the curriculum during this period of the early 2nd millennium? This is what I wrote my dissertation on, and I published a book, again, another popular level book called Learning to Pray in a Dead Language, Education and Invocation in Ancient Sumerian. And it talks about scribal education and how that was used in the development or the practice of community prayers by priests. There's a connection there essentially between prayer and schools. Anyway. Okay. The cuneiform signs that were used to write Sumerian are a little tricky to learn. In each chapter of this book, we will introduce you to a handful of commonly used cuneiform signs for you to memorize and learn to recognize. And a lot of people complain about this. If there's one complaint about the book, people want to get all the signs right up front. And they want to learn to read from the signs immediately. The problem is that while I get why you want to do that, you will get bogged. I know this from experience. You will get bogged down trying to learn both the grammar and the cuneiform, like what the signs actually mean. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So let me skip forward. So if I just show you some of the signs, you'll see what I mean. So I give you some in each chapter. We give you some in each chapter. So this is the A2 sign. This is the Lugal sign, Nin, the Dumu sign, the Tor sign, Nita, so forth. The problem is if you're trying to both memorize the signs and memorize the grammar, it becomes a little too much, I think, for the beginning student. So in the book, we introduce them little by little. And yeah, hopefully it works out. People seem to have benefited from it. So All right, chapter 1. Learning to read any ancient language begins with learning the signs and symbols that the language uses to write its words and phrases. With languages like Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, the task is relatively simple, as they each use an alphabet, a fixed set of individual letters or symbols that represent the basic sounds of the language. We're all familiar with this. We know what an alphabet is. Sumerian's not like that. Sumerian, on the other hand, uses a system of writing called cuneiform, which is used to write words and syllables rather than individual letters. So you don't get like the letter A, the letter B. You get, well, I'll explain it as we go, but you get actual words or individual syllables, and you have to kind of piece them together as you go. And if that's a little hazy and unclear, you're right on track. It'll become clear as we go. That means that there are many more signs to learn than you would find in a standard alphabet. If you think about an alphabet, you might have like 26 letters, 22, 26. Cuneiform has hundreds and hundreds of possible signs that you have to memorize, that you would have to memorize in order to learn them all. So it's more complicated. Thus, instead of initially learning all of the many signs that are used to write the language, the cuneiform, we will learn to read the language primarily in English characters. However, with each lesson, the student will learn a handful of cuneiform signs, building a repertoire of sorts that will allow them to read simple cuneiform texts. And to give you an idea of what you can learn, by the end of the book, see if I remember where I was. Yeah. By the end of the book, you'll be able to read this without a lot of trouble. Or this one, this is a different tablet. Megan drew these by hand. She's very good at what she does. But yeah, you'll be able to read this. So that's pretty exciting, which means that if you go to like the British Museum and you look through the glass, you'll see cuneiform tablets. And it's pretty cool when you, like for me, I remember the first time I went to the British Museum, and when I looked through the glass and I saw there was a royal inscription of Shulgi, it's King Shulgi from the 3rd millennium. And oh my gosh, like I can read that. I know what it says. So it's a pretty cool feeling. Okay. So first, we must learn the basic sounds that appear in the Sumerian language, not only to know how the words generally sounded, but also to be able to interact with other people about the Sumerian language in a way that follows the general conventions of pronunciation. In other words, if you decide you want to sit down and listen to me or watch me do these lessons online, I'm going to read these words or read these sentences out. And if I say A2 or She3 or Nya 20 and Nya 26 or something, you're gonna be like it doesn't. It helps to know why it is that we're pronouncing these things the way that we are. That doesn't mean we necessarily know exactly how they were pronounced originally, but this is how, Assyriologists, people that do this sort of thing, it's how we, pronounce these words and syllables. So these are the basic Sumerian sounds. So if you see the letter A, it's like ah in father. Most of these are going to be like, yeah, I get it, Josh. B is in boy, D is in dog. The E is the as in set, or the A sound as in hey. G is in girl. There's this little G with a squiggly line above it, and it's pronounced like NG, nya, nya. So singer, ng, nya, g. Anyway, it's a little complicated. It's one that we're not really familiar with. This H with a little line underneath of it is the sound. So loch. I is in bit or B, so I or E, depending on the word. K is in kite, L is in long, M is in man. I don't have to go through all these, but this is, you have a guide here. So when you hear me pronounce it, I kind of give a breakdown of why they're pronounced that way. And then we go through some of the more complicated ones here. So as you can see, some of the sounds can vary depending on the word in which the sound appears. Let's quickly go through some of these letters. Again, I won't go through this, just one or two. Let's look at the nasalized G sound. The nasalized G sound is one that can give students some trouble. It is, generally speaking, an NG sound, as in singer, so ng, ng. Thus, the Sumerian word dinger, it's not digir or something, it's dinger, D-I-N-G-I-R, is how it's pronounced. The word peering is pronounced just that way, peering, not perig, with two short I sounds. When the nasalized G appears at the beginning of a word, such as nish, you don't get that harder G sound in it, so you don't like it English or something. It's just nish. So, and that's how it's pronounced, although it tends to sound more like nish. So there you go. So I won't go through all of these. This is another common one. This S with a little caret on top. This is an SH sound. Okay. So if you want to know about those, you can go spend time, reading through, and it'll make sense. So what's with the subscripted numbers? And they're all over the place. You can see a bunch of them here. So ME with a subscripted 3, DU with a subscripted 11, and so on. So what do those little subscripted numbers mean next to the letters? For example, May 3, do 11, do 3, E3, Nya 2. Well, as you can imagine, representing Sumerian chicken scratch, cuneiform, in English characters can be difficult. Those subscripted numbers are a tool used by Assyriologists, that's who does Sumerian, to make the process a little easier. I mean, learning Sumerian is hard enough as it is, am I right? There are many cuneiform signs that are pronounced in the same way. So here, I said they are homophonous. It's the fancy word for it. As in the English words dear and dear, they're spelled differently, they mean different things, but they're pronounced the same way. Or B and B, hey and hey. These are homophonous, the same sound. Thus, they are different signs that there are different signs that are pronounced do, but mean different things. For example, do 11, to say or to speak. It's the verb to say or to speak. But do 3, again, they were pronounced the same way, do and do. But do 11 means to say or to speak. Do 3 means to build. Do 10 means to be good. Each one is pronounced the same way, but they represent different cuneiform signs and mean different things. Thus, in order to distinguish them when we write them in English, we put subscripted numbers next to them. So what that means is there are different cuneiform signs, actual signs that look different. They're shaped differently. They use different wedges. One of them is a sign that is pronounced do. Another one that looks completely different is also pronounced do, just like deer and deer in English. But instead of just writing the sound, du, do, each time, it would get really confusing. Which do are we talking about? So they wrote do 1, do 2, do 3, do 4, and so on. So do 3, do 11, do 10, and so forth. Can Dr. Josh teach us Sumerian? Can happen. I could try if you guys really wanted me to do that.
No, not for this one, but I do want to point out, we actually had this exact conversation earlier when we were getting ready for, get ready for this show, like going through this, like all of it is like super intriguing, and the more I'm like watching and listening and taking notes, like I'm actually excited to do this. But what I'm sitting here thinking is, this God is an idiot. This God, Bible God, is an idiot because of all the ways he could have tried to or chose to communicate this supreme message to humanity. God, he fucked this one up.
Well, the really great thing about learning Sumerian and learning Akkadian, which is closely associated with Sumerian, is that the Bible pulls, for lack of a better term, utilizes many motifs, many actual stories, myths from Sumerian and Akkadian texts. So part of my deconversion at Hopkins was reading through these Sumerian and Akkadian literary texts and going, wait a minute, there's a Sumerian flood story from way back before the biblical flood story. Or, wow, this thing that shows up in Sumerian and Akkadian texts, this is being used in the Bible. And so, for that reason alone, I think it's really neat to be able to at least have a general understanding of the Sumerian language, because then you can start to sort of play around with, when a book, you read through a book, you read through a commentary, and it talks about, oh yeah, this comes from this particular Sumerian story, and you can kind of engage with the language itself. Plus, it's really cool to be able to read these things when you're walking through a museum. So I really love Sumerian. All right. So how do cuneiform signs work? And this is, I want everybody to know that as I'm reading through this, you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, like he just finished a section and there's no way I'm going to remember what he just said. Well, of course not, right? That's why it's in a book or it's on a video and you can read it again or you can play it back. This is stuff that, as with any language, foreign language, you have to like make flashcards and memorize things. But hopefully this book lays it out in such a way that you know specifically what you have to memorize. And the concepts themselves, when you read and then reread the paragraphs, that the concepts are explained in such a way that it's clear what we're talking about. So, okay, how do cuneiform signs work? One of the most difficult aspects of learning Sumerian is mastering the cuneiform writing system. Cuneiform, or wedge-shaped writing, was used to write both Sumerian and Akkadian, and could employ the use of several hundred signs in a particular period. So you have the Old Babylonian period, you have the Ur III period, you have the early dynastic period. Each of these, can use different Sumerian signs, different groups of them. While this may seem daunting at first, much of the fear and trepidation can be taken away if you realize that mastery of a basic set of signs will allow you to understand many Sumerian texts. So while there might be hundreds and hundreds of these different signs and different sign values, there's like a core of common signs that are used over and over and over and over and over again. So if you have that common core down, you can read a lot of stuff, and there are easy little handbooks of like sign lists is what they're called. And you can go, oh, I don't know what that one is. And you can flip open your sign list and go, oh, okay, it's this sign. So you don't have to memorize all of them. And I say that here. In addition, with the resources available to us today, for example, sign lists, online dictionaries, searchable databases, by the way, they're all listed in almost any video on our channel that you go to. If you go to the description down at the bottom, you'll see links to all this sort of stuff. Most of this stuff is available online for free. So, Simply understanding how cuneiform signs work will go a long way. With that in mind, let's take a look at the 3 basic ways that cuneiform signs can be used in Sumerian. So for any sign that you see, there are 3 main ways that it can be used. First, as a single word. So this sign right here is the A2 sign. So notice how I said that, A2. A2 means house or temple. And the sign, this one here, represents water, also semen. And the sign Gu4, that's this one here, means ox. So A2, Gu4. These are all individual signs, and the individual sign was impressed on the tablet to indicate that particular word. So a lot of times, the A2 sign will just be written out, and that's what it means on the tablet. It means house, okay? That's it. Below is a list of cuneiform signs, the words that they correspond to, and their English translations. So let's just look at a couple. So this one here is A2, and it means house or temple. This is the Lugal sign, and Lugal means king. This is the Nin sign. By the way, this little triangle thing here, believe it or not, this is meant to be a vagina. There you go. That's what it is. So Nin, this down here is a penis. I'm not kidding. Anyway. Nice. Everybody that was falling asleep is just kind of perked up. They've become aroused in that sense, I suppose. But anyway, so this is the Nin sign. It means lady. This is these are the same here. The Tor sign. It can mean small, as the word Tor, or it can also mean sun. The Dumu sign. You can see the relation between those two, small or sun. Nita means male or man. Again, here's Munus, the vagina sign, means woman. Brilliant. And so on. So I won't go through all of these, but you can kind of see this is an important one to recognize. It looks like a star. This is the Dingir sign, Dingir, or Dinger, and it means God. Can also mean on, which is heaven. You can see the relationship between those two. So cuneiform signs just by themselves can mean a word, just by themselves. So A2 sign means house or temple. So that's the first way that these signs are used. There's only so far that a language can go, however, if you can only represent individual objects or ideas. Cuneiform signs develop to accommodate a broader range of writing by having the signs also represent syllables. So here's where it starts to get a little tricky. But again, if you can just kind of get the concept, it'll really help. As the individual signs represented particular words, again, nin, on, dinger, A2, all the ones that we saw up above, those signs began to be used to represent sounds, not the individual words themselves. For example, the sign ga by itself just means milk, right? The sign on, or dinger, means sky or heaven. So you notice, just real quick, this sign, the dinger sign, can mean dinger, can mean on. It's the same sign, but it can be read, they say, different ways. So ga means milk. This sign, the dinger sign, can mean on, meaning sky or heaven. And do 3, this sign right here, can it represents the verb to build. So All of these signs can also represent phonetic values of those words, which is not that hard to imagine, right? So the verbal form gandu, written ga, on, do, three in cuneiform signs, does not mean milk sky build. So let's just think about that one for a second. Ga means milk, on means sky, do, three means build. If you put them all together to write the verb gandu, you're writing the verb gandu. You're not writing milk sky build. You're writing a verb that means let me build. So if the way that you said let me build, like let me build a house, you would say A2, gandu. So let me build a house. Let me build is gandu. So to write that, they use the word for, or they wanted to use, they needed to use the sound ga, then the sound on, then the sound do. And they put them all together and they used the sign for ga, but in this case, in this, writing out this verbal form, it doesn't mean milk. It just means the sound ga. And on doesn't mean the word sky here. It just means the sound on. They're using it for the sound on. So gandu together doesn't mean milk sky build. It means let me build. Instead of creating a particular cuneiform sign to represent the verbal form gandu, if you can imagine how cumbersome that would be to create a different sign for every different word in your language, that'd be crazy. They use the signs ga and on as syllables before the verb do, three to build. In other words, the verbal form ga, on, do, three, ga and on are being used as syllables to represent the sound gon in the verb gandu. With this principle of using word signs or logograms to represent phonetic values, for example, ga milk, on sky to write ga on, the Sumerian language was able to represent a whole host of grammatical and syntactical forms, verb declensions, case markers, etc. Okay. So that one, people may have questions about that, but that's an important thing to recognize. So to briefly recap, in Sumerian, a cuneiform sign can represent 1, a word just by itself, A2, house, a syllable, so ga, on, do, three, ga, on, do, three, used to write the verb gandu, not to mean milk, sky, build. Now, as a brief aside, if anybody's ever read the book The 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin, he makes this mistake in the book. So there's a verbal form that says like mu'un do, three or something like that. Well, mu can mean like a name or it can also mean year. And so he has this he has this breakdown of this verbal form, and he essentially reads it like a whole sentence, just like this: milk, sky, build, where it's not in any way, it's a verb, it's just a verb, just like this one is. The ga and the on are not individual words, they're just syllables, if that makes sense. So you don't read this milk, sky, build, you read this gone. I'm trying to think of a good example in English, if we could do something like this. Oz, I don't know if you can think of one off the top of your head. You probably have to do this stuff a lot when you rap, sort of using words phonetically, tying them together. Like if you were gonna say Mario boy, the name of the Nintendo character Mario, but you use the O at the end as part of the sentence, or the phrase, "Oh boy," like "Oh boy, we're going here." Well, I can see how somebody might want to do that in a rap or something.
Yeah, now you put me on the spot. I can't think of it, but yes, I've done that before. And I'm trying to think of a word that. And you said, it's funny you said Mario, because I believe I recently did like a freestyle like rap battle thing, and I used Mario and Mario Kart somehow.
Oh, nice.
To do that. Now I can't remember what it was, but I'm of no help till I remember it.
Yeah, well, so like I saw somebody wrote bon in French in the side chat. So if you were to say like, you were trying to say like, I'm not going to eat bonbons anymore, and you said bon voyage, like to be clever, bon voyage to bonbons. Well, you're taking that bon and you're taking it out of its word bonbon, and you're putting it as a syllable into the next word, bon voyage. Anyway, that's a terrible example, but whatever. Hopefully it makes some sense. Okay, so
I will ask a question real quick, and maybe this will help with this part, because and I think it's in the first lesson on your videos. You hit on this at first, but when you talk about the three different ways that the word can be used, how did, like, with the numerical connotation at the end, is there a form or a pattern to how we know, like, if it's do 1, do 2, do 3? Is there a system or a process for that?
You would think there would have been. So they've all been created already. So here's kind of how it worked. As Assyriologists were figuring out Akkadian and Sumerian, they were figuring out that, okay, I'm trying to think if there's a way that I could explain this better using English, and I don't know that I can. So I don't know that I can. So they came across the first cuneiform sign, and they figured out that it's pronounced do, du. And they said, okay, all right, so we found the do sound, right? Here's the syllable that is used for do. They kept reading, and they came across another word, and they went, oh my gosh, this one's also pronounced do, but this one means this first do here means to build, and this do over here, it's pronounced the exact same way, but it means to speak. Oh my gosh, here's another one over here. This sign's completely different sign. It's also pronounced do, but it means good. Like, what are we going to do here? All right, well, we can't, like, do we write them? This one is do, that means good, and we'll put it in italics. So do in italics, that one. So when people see do in italics, they know, okay, this is the do that means good. And this do that's in bold, that's the do that means to build. And this do that's regular, that one's the one that means to say or to speak. That's a little clunky. And there's going to be a whole bunch of them, because some of these, like, there's 26, right? Like, so what they did is they just put a superscripted number, right? So this is the third do, the third sign that's pronounced do, and we'll just call it do 3. And everybody knows that this do 3 is the one that is this sign. This sign is assigned the do 3, and it's the one that means to build.
So with each, and see, that helped. I think that might have just helped me. So with each numerical connotation, there is a different sign for. Okay.
That's
helps.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, let me just see if I can get to see if I do.
See if I do 1, 2, or 3, Dr. Josh.
Well, I don't. Damn it. Let me go to the glossary real quick, because that'll. Just gotta find it. There we are. Okay. Oh, come on. Here we go. Okay. So do 3, do 10, do 11, right? How did we list them here? I don't remember how we listed them. Damn it. Let's see. Okay, so here's do 3, the do 3 sign, right? Here's do 7, so completely different sign. Here's do 11, so you can see do 7, do 11, completely different signs, and they're different from the first one. So anyway, that's what that means. They're completely different signs, but they're pronounced do. So that's how they demarcated them. If that makes sense. All right, chapter 1.
No, that does help, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, if we got like do 1 through do 7 and they're all the same, I'm gonna get confused really quick.
The nice thing about it is there isn't always like do 1, do 2, do 3, do 4, do 5, do 6, do 7. You'll see do, which if there's no superscripted number, that's just do 1. They don't write a 1 next to do 1. And then there's do 3, do 10, do 11. Yeah, there's do 7. So even though those signs might exist, you don't see them all that often. So
cool. Right, real quick before you keep going, I think this is a pretty important question. And Mr. Chilaxon asks, does doo-doo mean going number 2?
It does not.
Oh,
sorry. But interestingly enough, and Oz, I think I texted you this, the word for wood, nish, is also the word for penis. So there you go.
Sorry,
all right.
I can't control him, Dr. Josh. I can't.
That was good. That was good. All right, so we've learned that there are 2 ways so far that a sign can be used. It can be used as a word. It can be used as a syllable. Then it can be used as a determinative. What in the hell does determinative mean? Okay. If you hadn't noticed, and I can stop after this section because this has actually been a pretty good chunk of material here. If you hadn't noticed, Sumerian signs can be a little confusing, and not just for us reading them today. There were times the people writing Sumerian wanted to make sure that when they wrote a word, it would not be confused with something else. For example, the word guza means chair. If the writer wanted to let the reader know that the chair was made out of wood, they would write the sign nish, this right here, wood, before it. So here's gu, here's za. If you can see my cursor, I think you can. Gu, za. And before it is this sign right here, nish, which means wood. And basically it's just a little arrow pointing to this word saying, hey, this word, this object here is made out of wood. So, which we write in English, nish, superscripted, guza. The sign nish was not pronounced. It was simply written to let you know that the chair was made out of wood. The same was true for the names of gods. The name Enlil was given to one of the chief gods in the pantheon. When you wrote his name, you would not simply write Enlil2. You would put the sign dinger, which is the word for God, before it. So here's N, and here's the lil 2 sign. So N, lil 2. And before it, they put the star sign, the dinger sign. And that's a little marker, a little pointer that says, hey, the thing that's coming is a deity. It's a divine being. Notice that the words for wood and God are neither pronounced nor translated. They are simply identifying the following word as belonging to a particular category, word, or deity. The sign that is used in this way is called a determinative. It determines what kind of word the noun will be. Signs that are used as determinatives can be written before or after the word that they are attached to. Below is a list of the most common determinatives, their meanings, and whether they occur before or after the noun they relate to. So we've already seen nish and dinger, but here they are. Nish guza, superscripted nish guza. It comes before the noun, and it just means it's made of wood. The same with dinger. So dinger and lil 2. So it's a divine being. Again, it comes before the noun. This is the sign right here. This is the sign ki. It comes after the noun that it determines. So the sign here is Eridu. So Eridu ki. Eridu is the name of a city. So it's telling you that this is a place. It's a place name. Q6 comes after. We don't have to go through all these, but that's how these work. They'll come before or after, and they're just arrows that are pointing to the noun and telling the reader something, so what category that noun is in. Is it made of wood? Is it so there's a stone one, there's a wood one, there's a divine one, there's water, like river, there's a place, there's what? Fish, bird. Yeah, bunch of them. Notice that when we write the determinative in English characters, we superscript the word, or the letter in the case of D for dinger, in order to indicate that the sign is being used as a determinative. So when you see a superscripted form like this, it will most often indicate a determinative, and they appear a lot. So it's good to know that's what they are. Okay. So to sum up, if you see a Sumerian cuneiform sign, it will almost always be functioning in one of three ways. One, just a word, A2, house. A syllable, and again, ga means milk. As a word, an means sky. As a noun, just as a word, and do 3 means to build. However, when you put them together like this, it's not milk, sky, build. These are being used syllabically or phonetically. You're saying gon, gondu. You're pronouncing, you're using them as they sound, not by what they mean. So gondu, not milk, sky, build. And then finally, as a determinative, so here's your dinger sign before the divine name Enlil2, Enlil. Notice that it's superscripted, and they don't write out the whole word dinger because that would get kind of cumbersome to write the whole word dinger before each divine name because they show up all over the place, so they just write a little D instead of the whole word. Do you want me to do nouns or do you want me to stop there? What do you think?
No, I think we're good to stop there because
right.
We've had some questions, but we'll do the questions a little different, little different tonight. But first of all, thank you, Dr. Josh.
Of course.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, or at least found it interesting. And I'm in the very beginning stages of wanting to learn this, so it was cool to be able to do this. And and Dr. Josh, you can tell me how close I am to saying this correctly. It's been the first phrase I'm working on. Lugao Minha. I am king.
Oh, Lugao Men. Yep, Men or Men. Lugao Men.
I was close. God damn it, I was close.
That's great. That's the thing. Like pronouncing Sumerian is tough because we're not 100% sure how it was done. Because it's complicated. And you probably had regional dialectical shifts, so it's not straightforward. But yes, Lugao Men.
Lugao Men. I was walking around my house saying it the last 2 days, and everybody's
that's awesome.
It's for me to know and you to find out. Go do your homework. But before I say we're going to do it different, maybe I should ask, instead of doing it via the comment section here, do you have maybe a half hour or so to because we're actually doing good on time. We're an hour and 12 minutes. Are you cool if we go into the Discord? That way we can actually have a little more engagement, and because I think
sure, yeah,
are a better answer doing it that way than just text on these kind of topics. Is that cool with you?
I can definitely do that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So everybody in the club getting tipsy. No, we're not. But we're gonna go to the Discord. It's been all in the chat tonight, the Discord link. So if you had any questions on what we were talking about tonight for Dr. Josh, if you want to ask me the one thing that I know how to say, and that's I am king, I'll help you learn that. But before we do jump off, I just want to say one more time for those that weren't with us when we started the stream earlier, October 9th and 10th in Fort Wayne, Indiana at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum. It's a great venue. We have our first TANG conference. We'll have Seth Andrews, our great friend Dr. Josh Bowen, T-Jump, and I'm trying to get his chair to be there, Anthony Magnabosco, Cynthia McDonald, Dave Warnock, and most of the TANG crew should be there. It's going to be awesome. So this Saturday night, reservations go on sale for the first ever TANG conference titled Better. And again, the simple way of saying that is, how do we have better conversations? Because I think that makes all of us better. It'll make the world we live in a better place. So before we jump off, make sure you go to the YouTubes and check out Dr. Josh and Megan, Digital Hammurabi, and I'll make sure the links are everything are in there in the description once we're done here, because I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, like I said at the beginning of the show, trying to make sure everything looked good and sounded good and everything for tonight. But we'll make sure that's in there, and go buy this book if you're interested in what we're talking about tonight. But if not, we also have this book. And if you don't own this book, you done lost your damn mind. But before we go and head to the Discord, Dr. Josh, anything you'd like to say before we wrap it up here?
No, just thanks for everybody participating, and hopefully it was clear and enjoyable.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. I have to. Oz, have you managed to figure out how to get T-Jump's chair to the event? Let's just say I'm working on a partnership program for the Jumpster's chair. Volume 1, yes. Nate, it's Volume 1. That means Volume 2 is coming. What? All right, guys, we'll see you in the Discord. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in a minute.
Tang, gang, tang, gang, tang, gang, tang, gang. Yeah. Welcome to the Atheist Network group. Look, let's do it. Yeah, first up, just Jeff, the Atheist troll. Yeah, he'll bring you what you need to know. Yeah, then there's that Murdershed Steve, and nobody knows what is up his fucking sleeve. And then this Nate. The only thing we know is this motherfucker likes to stay up late. Then yeah, we got Biddy Buddha. Yeah, you don't wanna do it, you just look stupid. Then there's Shane, the skeptic. Nah, man, don't get wrecked, step left, yeah. Then this Priceroni, don't bring him that baloney, nah. And then Skids, the clown, it's guaranteed they go down. And then we got producer West, haha, yeah, he's on there making that shit look the best. Then we got Sunny Shell, what the hell? She does everything, listen to him sing. It's your boy Oz. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. You about to have the time of your life. Feel me? Okay. Yeah. Gang, gang. Gang, gang. Tang gang. Tang gang, man. Tang gang. Tang gang. Tang gang. Tang gang.